Welcome to the maiden edition of the program CSR Digest. CSR Digest is a news and current affairs program that focuses on issues emanating from corporate social responsibility policies of multinational oil companies, IOCs. It is a known fact that the Niger Delta region hosts most of these IOCs as operational base. This, no doubt, accounts for greater percentage of the nation's gross domestic product, GDP. In spite of these huge investments found in the Niger Delta, there seems to be a high rate of underdevelopment, unemployment, leading to too much agitations, restiveness, crime and criminality. Efforts by governments, IOCs, as well as interventionist agencies to curb this trend seem not to have yielded much result. The questions now are, what are the fundamental problems? What are the contents of the IOC's corporate social responsibility policies? How has these policies been deployed to various host communities, and how has these communities embraced the policies? CSR Digest seeks to provide answers to many or all of these questions. Stay tuned. My name is Ndun Ajie. Our main focus today is on the recent Memorandum of Understanding for 2017-2021 signed by Egi People's Assembly and Egi Oil and Gas Landlord Families Association and Total Exploration and Production Nigeria Limited, operator of the NNPC Total Joint Venture, for which the Managing Director, Mr. Nicolas Therese, assured the people of faithful implementation.
I do appreciate the efforts of both parties in making our common interest realizable through the outcomes of the various negotiations before us. When going through the documents that we will sign today, I am convinced that their content and their depths are very far-reaching and have the potential to positively affect the lives of the communities if all the parties show sincerity in their implementation and management.
The Executive General Manager, Corporate Services, Engineer Vincent Nadi, and the Manager MOU Strategy and Implementation, Josiah Otu, explained that the content of the MOU is a paradigm shift from the previous agreements.
This is very different because we used to have several groups and all that, but now everybody is united in one, and the other unity of purpose. And you can also see on the total side, right from the managing director, because sometimes they used to delegate this aspect, but today the MD is, so it's a new beginning. So we have vibrant young men who have been appointed today to implement, and so I have no doubt that they will deliver. First of all, the environment has to be created at home, and this is the task of the people themselves.
Can assure the stakeholders that for the first time they are going to see 100% implementation of an agreed commitment. Yes, the advice I have for the community is to create an enabling environment, that can usher in all that was agreed upon. Because without the security in the community, there's no way we can go to the community to implement what has been agreed upon.
Community leaders also have their own views.
The unique point of this MOU that is being signed today is the shift towards entrepreneurship. Now, there is the thinking that the money that is allocated for development in the communities should create jobs, should raise entrepreneurs, should be able to make the community to think about their present and their future. And who is best placed to lead this process than the community leaders? And if you put it against the backdrop of other MOUs, this MOU is different because it recognizes the fact that jobs need to be created, not just by the company, but also by the community people.
This MOU appears to be a departure from the several others because we've been able to extract some kind of commitment from our development partners, Total E&P. And they said through management that they will ensure the total implementation of the MOUs. Because that's the challenge we've had all these, just as you rightly mentioned. We've had series of MOUs, beautiful MOUs, but at the point of implementation, we're losers because we don't get to see these things on ground. And because it's an MOU, really, Memorandum of Understanding, its implementation is anchored on the goodwill of the parties.
The unique thing in this particular MOU is the fact that there are some basic structural change which is going to impact positively on the skills and scholarship. On the other hand, the previous MOUs have been project driven. This particular one is commerce driven. So these two major departures are going to enhance the life of the common man, given the fact that they are commerce driven, they are education inclined and skill oriented. So on this platform, it is good for my people. It's the best we've had. The negotiators have done marvelous.
To make good its pledge as contained in the MOUs, Total E&P embarked on a wide range of medical outreach in which in- and outpatient were taken care of. Take a look.
Took me to where I belong, which is the theater, and the work was well done. I want to say a very big thank you because it has been a medium of giving hope to those that who are unable to meet up the time, which they can be able to solve their problem in terms of sickness, like as I am.
I just want to say thank you to them because maybe without them, a lot of persons out there are having a lot of problems like this, maybe because of issues of money that they've been handing around. But with their help, they've been able to make it possible.
They give me the eyeglass that suits myself. Yeah. No, I didn't pay any kobo. Right from where I took the folder and to the place, I didn't pay anything. Yes, I want to thank Total. So I want to thank them for what they have done to the poor people in the community and the hospital. I wish they should be continue to doing this from time to time.
Welcome back to the discussion segment of CSR Digest. I have with me here a veteran broadcaster, the immediate past spokesperson of the Ijaw National Congress, talking about INC. I have with me Mr. Victor Burubo. Welcome, Mr. Burubo.
Thank you very much, Indro.
Yes. Now, the question we have here is, what are the fundamental problems that plagued the Niger Delta, that gave rise to these huge agitations everywhere?
In the late 90s, when our youth started to go to Abuja to see the kind of paradise they had built there with resources from the Niger Delta, while the people there kept suffering, when youth corpers are posted out, okay, some people are posted to the Niger Delta, they are given jobs. Our people are posted to quote and unquote dry places, by the time they finish their service and return home, there are no jobs for them. All these things, led to this agitation because definitely something had to give, and it did.
Okay, how do you look at the corporate social responsibility policies of these IOCs?
Well, first of all, a corporate social responsibility policy, to put it in layman's language, amounts to managing to feed the cow you are milking. Okay. That is what it generally is. I don't want this cow to die of hunger. I want to continue to milk the cow, therefore give it a little to eat. It is not a totally equitable arrangement. But inequitable as it seems to be, it is better than nothing.
Okay.
And these policies, as long as they are the products of a synthesis of ideas, the companies themselves, their local representatives, those who deal with the localities, with the local people, okay? And then the local people themselves. Before now, what happened was I'm sorry to say this, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
A few powerful chiefs and powerful potentates, so to say, simply went to the oil companies, collected money from them, and just built palaces and huge gates with the sign beware of dogs and angels of God and all such inanities. But now we have shifted from that. We are making some progress. Okay. Now we have a system where the companies know that they have to do something for the communities. Okay. Feed the cow a little. And as long as the policies are coming from the people who need them, who need the benefits, okay, good, all well and good. We shouldn't have a system where somebody sits in his air-conditioned office and determines that the people of this community need, what do I call it now? A cable bridge. Okay. They may not need a cable bridge. A wooden bridge or a concrete bridge, more like a concrete bridge, will do. But if you choose to build a cable bridge because of the prestige, because you want to show off to the world that our company is doing more than all other companies, you build a cable bridge. We do not have the technology to sustain it. So after a few months, a few years, it goes bad, and you no longer have a bridge. So let there be a synthesis of ideas. Let our people speak for themselves, that this is what we want. We want schools, we want hospitals, we want water, more than we want our cities to look like New York or London. Okay. We do not need skyscrapers at this point of our development. So let there be a synthesis. Let the people sit at the round table and agree on something. That, okay, if you want to feed me as a cow, okay, what I love to eat is grass. It may not be as glamorous as a 3-course meal in a 5-star hotel. But a cow doesn't need that. As I said, the basic idea is feed the cow and continue to milk it.
How do you look at the models, the different models of MOUs that are entered into by host communities and the international oil companies? I'm talking about the GMOU, operated by Shell, and then the MOU with Total E&P and East Coast communities. How do you look at them in the broad spectrum?
A little I've seen, I should think that they make sense to me, to a great extent. Okay. They make sense to me. A system where communities are lumped together, jumbled together, does not appeal to me at all. Okay. And another system where communities are put in a pigeonhole does not also appeal to me. Okay. As I said earlier, let the companies talk with the people. Okay, like the Total example you gave. Yeah. Yes, it makes sense. These are different communities. They are in the same locality, but their requirements, their needs, their challenges are not always the same. Okay. Okay. The community at the head of the river is not the same, does not have the same challenges as a community at the estuary or in the delta area. So all these things should be taken into consideration. But basically there should be a broad view that this development must take place. And then there also should be some form of segmentization, okay? To say this group of companies, this group of communities, these are your peculiar problems or your challenges. Okay. We'll deal with those.
Okay, that brings me to the issue of needs assessment, because some of these IOCs conduct needs assessment before embarking on these MOUs. And but the challenge now is, when these MOUs are deployed, when these policies are translated into maybe sustainable development projects and deployed to the communities, the communities don't seem to own these issues. How do you look at this?
Yeah, that brings me back to what I said before. Yeah. Unfortunately, some of these companies are more interested or more inclined to glamorous projects, rather than, yes, pragmatic ones. Okay. Let's us drop the glamour aspect of it. It is not enough to go to the United Nations or go to international conferences and show videos of all the wonderful things you're doing in the Niger Delta.
No.
Is that what the people need? If it is not, the effort itself is wasted,
Okay.
and agitation will not abate.
Mm-hmm.
So the most important thing is needs assessment that is credible, that is pragmatic and practical for the benefit of the people for which you are making those needs. If a community needs a hospital, and the chief of that community, or the king of that community, needs a Lexus Jeep, for instance, it is up to you. You have to judge for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you have to choose between the two, give the community the hospital. Let chief wait. When his people are healthy, they will work hard and also contribute to his own Lexus Jeep. But so, a lot of times too, these companies, deal more with the political power holders and stakeholders, and sometimes when meetings are called, you find out that, look, there is a very important component of the society, or two important components of the society, women and youths. The women and the youths, if they are well taken care of, you will find out that there is more stability in the society.
Exactly.
Okay? So all these things should be taken into consideration. The company needs to be patient. Our people are not as literate, they are not as cosmopolitan, they are not as exposed as the people coming from those companies.
Yeah.
Some of whom are foreigners, or they come from other parts of this country. And I mean, they are more or less semi-foreigners, if you may put it that way. Not in the sense that they are no longer Nigerians, but in the sense that they are not from this locality. And they may not quite appreciate and understand what our people have to deal with. Okay? And as much as possible, it helps when you take people, when you source your staff from the local community, people who are credible, people who will not, join the gravy train and suddenly feel that they are too good for their own people. You need those kind of people who have the hearts of the progress of the community at heart, who have at heart the progress of their community, and are willing to continue to be a bridge between the company and the community. In that way, everybody benefits.
Now, in one of these, in one of my engagements with Total E&P, I discovered that some of these MOUs are drifting away from, contract-driven MOUs to entrepreneurship kind of MOU. And of course, the recent MOU signed, the content, when I went through the contents, I discovered that the large chunk of the MOU is talking about how the youths or how the entire populace will benefit directly from skills, expand the skills, and then trickle down those the benefits of the skills to the unemployed ones, and then become self-reliant. Do you look at this as a progressive MOU?
I will say yes and no.
Okay, how?
It is progressive in the sense that the contract-based MOUs basically benefits individuals.
Okay.
I go to a company,
maybe the elites.
Yes, the elite, yeah, exactly. You have it there. I go to a company, they look at my face, they hear my name, they feel the threat factor. If I am some kind of warlord, they feel the threat factor, and they give me a contract.
Okay.
Now, that does not do much trickling down. Okay?
Yeah.
But when it comes to encouraging skills, it's progressive.
Yeah.
Now, that first contract level of MOU is, I will call it short term, more or less short term.
Okay.
It's immediate. Let's solve an immediate problem. This warlord is on our necks, or these young men have blocked our gates, they have picketed us, let us quickly give them a contract and solve the problem. It's not medium term. The medium term is this one they have moved into, such as giving people skills. Okay, when a man has skills, you have taught him to fish, rather than just giving him fish. But we also, why I said no is because at this point we have not begun to think ahead to the long-term pattern. One of these days our oil wells will dry up.
Okay.
Our environment remains,
polluted.
devastated, polluted.
Yeah.
When they talk about Ogoni cleanup, well, yeah, it's been flagged off. But if you say you want to clean up the rest of the Niger Delta, as you want to use the Ogoni cleanup as a prelude to clean up the rest of the Niger Delta, where are the steps you have taken? For the Ogoni cleanup, you had the UNEP report. Where is the UNEP report for the rest of the Niger Delta? I have not seen any, I have not heard of any. Okay. However, to go back to my point, for it to be long term, we have to look back at agriculture. The only sustainable industry or the only sustainable livelihood for our people, both at the local level and at the community level or at the national level, is agriculture.
Okay.
What are the arrangements we are making for agriculture? Deep sea farming. These days in places like Russia, people plant all sorts of crops underwater. Yes, there is this kind of farming that you no longer do according to the seasons. You do all year round farming. All those are the kind of things that we should begin to look at for on the long term. Now, it takes a company that has the community at heart to begin to look at such things. And I also want to encourage our local communities and our youths and our chiefs and our elders and the women to also look beyond the entrepreneurial area and look at what can be done 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now to sustain the society when the oil no longer flows. If the oil stops flowing now, what we will have is absolute disaster. Because you can't go back to farming, you can't go back to fishing, there is no business to give you a contract, there is nobody to train you in entrepreneurial skills, there is simply nothing. So let us begin to create something on the long run, then I can say yes also.
All right, we've been talking with Mr. Victor Burubo. Mr. Victor Burubo is the immediate past spokesman of the Niger National Congress, and he's been talking about this corporate social responsibility of all the IOCs in the Niger Delta and how it has affected the Niger Delta people. But, Mr. Burubo, what advice do you have for the people of the Niger Delta? What more thing do you think the Niger Deltans should do to be able to sustain themselves?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. I want to first of all advise my people, I'm a Niger Deltan, my people and myself, that we have to understand that the world does not owe us a living. No matter how many companies there are in your backyard, they don't really owe you a living.
Okay.
We need to look beyond this perspective of we have oil companies in our backyard, they must sustain us, they can't sustain us.
Okay.
No matter what these companies do, what they do cannot empower and enrich and bless everybody in a community. It is impossible.
Okay.
That is one. Number two, we should stop destroying our environment, because our environment is also our life. A man is tied to his land, to his creek, to his land, to his forests. That is who he is. A situation where we engage in businesses that pollute the environment even more than these oil companies is very bad.
Okay.
And we must separate from the people who are or who were agitators. They were fighting for a cause. They were ideologically motivated. But these days we have a system where somebody goes to open an illegal refinery and then somebody argues that he's trying to survive. It's not true. That is crime. That's a crime.
Okay.
An illegal refinery, I did a little research and somebody said the minimum you need to start an illegal refinery is about 4.5 million naira. Now, nobody who goes into that can call himself a hungry man and convince me that it was hunger that pushed him into that.
In the first place, how did you get the 4.5?
If you already have 4.5 million naira, you are not a hungry man by any standard, okay, even by foreign standards. So why don't we invest that money into another area? We are destroying our environment. When the oil dries up, the foreigners will leave to their countries. The other people from other parts of Nigeria will leave to their own states of origin. We are going to live in this land. And if the land is hurt, we are hurt. If the land is killed, we die. So let's save our land. It is not anybody's prime responsibility. It's our number one responsibility to save our land, and then number two, to ensure that we don't become so dependent such that we need oil companies to spoon feed us. For me, that's very important.
Well, viewers, this is the much we have for you for this maiden edition of CSR Digest. CSR Digest, as earlier mentioned, is a news and current affairs program that has to do with the policies and the corporate social responsibility policies of the IOCs and how they are deployed to their host communities. Thank you so much for being part of the show. Next week, come your way again on another interesting package of CSR Digest. Thank you so much. My name is Ndom Ajie.